Oh my goodness, can't speak today. Why your recovery nutrition sucks. Hey Leslie, how are you? All right, so let's get straight into it. Hopefully I can find my words this morning. It has been a big week. I'm going live every day this week to celebrate the doors opening of the Triathlon Nutrition Academy. Hey Awa, hey Allegra, how are you guys? So doors open for the Triathlon Nutrition Academy at the moment. So every day I'm jumping on live to give you lots of tips and tricks when it comes to triathlon nutrition. And today's session is all about recovery nutrition because it's one of the biggest areas I see that people honestly suck at. There's a few things that we need to get right when it comes to recovery nutrition, and I'm going to teach you some of those things today. Hello, you two. All right, so I guess the biggest failing with triathletes with their recovery nutrition is that it's delayed or it's late. And that, you know, if we're doing 2 sessions in a day or we're backing up and going again relatively quickly, then that's not good. We need to really try and prioritize our recovery nutrition because that helps us to refuel again and help our whole body kind of just relax in a way to get better, to get fitter and faster, to go again and train again hard that afternoon. That's one of there's many reasons why we need to sort out our recovery nutrition, but that is one of them. The other thing that people suck at with recovery is that it doesn't contain the right building blocks for you. You have very individual needs. Nutrition is not a blanket one size fits all type thing. Your needs are very different to the person that is sitting next to you or your favorite training buddy or your coach. So you need to understand the right building blocks that you need to tick for you to really nail your recovery nutrition. So not having the right components for you is a big failure, and also not the right timing is another big failure. And if you do that, you do actually compromise your immune system by not recovering well. One of the ladies on the webinar yesterday keeps getting sick after every time she races. And I don't know specifically, but one of the things that I would tackle with her first is what she's doing in her recovery after a race. Because a lot of people do a bit of recovery in their training week and then they completely forget about race day. And that's something I will always plan in somebody's race nutrition plan to actually get your right recovery building blocks with the right timing after a race. Because in that situation, we're so distracted by the finishing line. We're talking to our buddies. We've got that post-race high, that euphoria, and the endorphin rush that we get with racing, that we forget about eating. Also, probably because your appetite is blunted, it's reduced after that high-intensity exercise. We're not feeling like food or hunting it down until the absolute hunger monster just goes AWOL later on. Hey, Michelle. So I always plan recovery in racing because it is your biggest onslaught to the body. So if you find that you're getting sick all the time after racing, then you need to start to think about what you're doing for your recovery nutrition in that window and not forget it. The other thing that can happen if you do a really poor job of your recovery is horrendous DOMS, or that delayed onset muscle soreness. If you aren't putting the right building blocks in there and helping the body with some anti-inflammatory properties, then we can make the delayed onset muscle soreness so much worse than it could have been if you did a good job with your recovery nutrition. So when it comes to recovery, they are the biggest failings I see triathletes make, and it's the first thing that I'll tackle with people is getting that right. Now, there's 2 components to recovery nutrition that you need to focus on. One is the timing, and 2 is ticking the right boxes for you. So I like to teach my athletes, and we go through this deeply inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program, when it's important to be really aggressive with your recovery nutrition and when maybe it doesn't matter so much. There are times where you don't have to be so aggressive, and it's understanding, like for you and your training program, when you do need to be really on top of it and when you don't need to be so much. I'm not going to go into that here because it is individual, but it's something that I'll teach you inside the Academy program if you do want to understand how to evolve your recovery nutrition throughout your season, so that we're not when we have a plan for what we're doing and we're not getting confused by all the mixed messages out there in the nutrition space. So timing is really important with recovery because we want to meet all of our hormones and our enzyme peak that we get after exercise. We want to meet that with the right building blocks of nutrition. So in terms of building blocks, does anyone know, like there's a few people online here, does anybody know what boxes we do need to tick for recovery? Most people can get one or two, but let me know if you can get the 4 that I'm thinking of. There's definitely more than 4. There could be lots of R's of recovery, I call them. But, you know, there's 4 main ones that you need to focus on in that recovery window. Has anyone got anything for me? Radio silence. All right, if you can't pick them, I'm going to tell you, but just wanting to know if anybody actually does have an understanding of what we need to be aiming for. All right, so let's go through them then. Radio silence on the grams. So the 4 R's of recovery that you need to focus on after exercise are number 1, refueling, and that's putting carbohydrate back in the system. Depending on the type of session that you've just done, you will need to top up your glycogen levels or your carbohydrate fuel tank. So how much you have is highly individual, and it depends on you and your goals and what type of session you've just done. But chances are you're going to need to put some carbohydrate back in the system. So that's the first R of recovery, refueling. The second R is repair. So we need to be consuming protein in that recovery window. There's a certain target that you need to hit that I'll teach you inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy, and within a certain time frame as well, because we have done damage to our muscles with exercise, among other things. We've literally done little micro tears in our muscle fibers that we need to heal and repair them. And the building blocks of our muscles is protein. Now, what was I going to say? We can talk about that further if you need to, if you have any questions around that, but that's the second R of recovery. The third R, which nobody gets, most people have no concept of this one, is what I call revitalize. And that's making sure we put vitamins and minerals back in the system, because they're all our precursors for our recovery pathways, and also putting some anti-inflammatory fats into the system as well, because we do have this short-term transient increased inflammation in our body with exercise. Not to say that exercising is bad for us and we shouldn't exercise, because we definitely should exercise. And if you're here watching, or you're watching this back later, then you probably exercise quite a lot. And that's totally fine. But it's understanding how to kind of quieten that down with our nutrition components, so we're not in this heightened stress state all the time, because it is something that can get quite out of hand with triathletes, because we train so much. Like, we have to train for not 1, but 3 different sports. And so you need to be including some of those anti-inflammatory foods in your recovery meals, but also right throughout the day, to make sure that we're not in that stress response all the time. Now, the 4th R of recovery is rehydrate. Now, it doesn't need to be anything more complicated than just water. Water is the best fluid for recovery, particularly if you're eating. If you're eating your recovery meal, which you should be after I teach you how to do it properly, there's naturally electrolytes in our food. And so if you're having water with a meal, then that will help better with fluid retention and rehydration after exercise too. You don't need to be sucking back like electrolyte tablets and drinking sports drink for rehydration, or doing anything weird and wonderful. All you have to do is drink water and eat something for recovery. It's as simple as that. But, triathlon's a very noisy space, and there's a lot of noise. And people will tell you to do lots of things and take certain products, but it's not as sexy as those shiny objects. All you have to do is eat some proper food that's ticking the right recovery boxes for you, and drink water. All right, so they are the 4 R's of recovery. You need to understand how much of each of those you need specifically for you. And inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program, we've got a worksheet to calculate that out for exactly what you need. I'm going to teach you how to figure out what you need for you, so that you can walk away after watching that and listening to that for the very first time, and walk away with a practical plan that you can implement today. It's not, I like to teach people to understand why we're doing what we're doing, and then teach you exactly what you need to know for you, so that we can individualize our nutrition to give you what you need. And that's something that you can take with you for life. Like, I don't believe in quick fixes and 8-week challenges and all that sort of yo-yoing type effect with nutrition. I like to set people up with long-term, sustainable, healthy eating, but I guess eating for performance as well. And that's, I guess, the additional layer of having an advanced sports dietitian in your corner who understands triathlon incredibly well, to be able to know what you need to eat for health and long-term health, but also long-term performance as well. Because it's not a quick fix. It's not something that you want to do now for the next 8 weeks and then that's it. I want you to take this and run with it and use it for the rest of your life. Hey, Eat Smart, what are you doing on my live? All right, so those are the 4 boxes that you need to tick. And then you also need to understand about timing and what sorts of sessions you need to be aggressive for, what sorts of sessions you may not need to be aggressive for, or it doesn't matter so much, so that you can be comfortable and confident that you know you're doing what you need to be doing for you. Because I want you to have an understanding of the right boxes and how much to tick and how to actually practically do that when it comes to eating. So that you can repair your muscles, refuel again so you can train again that afternoon or, in less than 24 hours and feel good, and making sure you're also rehydrating properly in between sessions as well. So one of the things that we do go through in the academy is hydration and understanding how to calculate what your needs are, so that you can stay on top of hydration in your session, and then also know how much to do for rehydration after your session as well. So we're not turning up to that next session already dehydrated, because we know performance is affected negatively by dehydration, and we're not going to perform at our best if we're dehydrated. So we need to make sure we are hydrated and we're not ever in the red. Hey, Catherine Ellis. All right, so I want you to feel confident that you're hitting the right targets for you and you're putting back into your body exactly what it needs, okay? We're not under-recovering. You can do more, that's fine. That's not necessarily going to have negative implications other than you maybe eat too many calories for what you need, but we're not under-recovering. And that is one of the biggest failings I see with triathletes, is they do a really crap job of their recovery and then, fall into a heap that afternoon. Like by 3 o'clock, you're just like in a hole, need a nap. That's when you're like starting to crash. And, if you have a full-time job, then we can't generally, unless you work from home and you can go and sneak a nap. But generally, we have a job and we can't go and nap at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we start searching down the sweets. We're looking for the cookie jar. We're trying to find some lollies, something to give us a quick pick-me-up to get through that afternoon slump. Now, if that is you and that feels like you, then I would start to have a look at what you're doing with your recovery nutrition as the first kind of point of call, because it probably sucks. And eating better in that window can help set the whole rest of your day up if you get that right. Now, if you're getting that right, you'll be able to back up and go again hard that afternoon or, the next morning for your next session. Doing a good job of your recovery, even if your appetite is not there, is going to help set you up for success for those later sessions. Now, as a triathlete, we don't have really rest days. We don't have 1 to 2 days in a row where we do nothing unless we're sick or injured. We like to train and, have trouble not training. So chances are you don't have a 24 to 48 hour period of nothing to rest and recover. So that is where nutrition becomes so important, to get the right things in at the right time, because we don't have the benefit of actual rest, not training. When you've got to squeeze training for 3 disciplines into a week, generally holding down a job and potentially family commitments as well, we don't have the time to take 2 days of rest and recovery to be able to back up and train again hard. So nutrition, it becomes so important to help us to do that, so that we're not falling into a heap at the end of the day or the end of the week, because we've just smashed ourselves and under recovered. And particularly after those longer sessions as well. It's so important that you're doing a good job of recovery there, because they are your biggest onslaught on your body, and racing, it fits into that too. So if you're doing a good job of your recovery, I want you to feel confident and comfortable that you have a plan for you. And we go through that specifically inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy. We have a worksheet so you can calculate exactly what you need. So you don't have to think about it. You just automate the process and be comfortable that you're getting the right boxes at the right time. We only adapt or get fitter and faster from the exercise that we recover from. Okay, let me say that again, because if you're kind of doing something else and you're distracted while you're listening to me, I want this to sink in. We only adapt, as in we only get fitter and faster from the sessions that we recover from. So if you were doing a poor job of your recovery nutrition and your recovery practices, then chances are you've wasted that training session. Not entirely wasted, but you could be performing better if you do a good job of your recovery, so that you can actually get the adaptations from the session to become a better athlete. Because that is why we train, right? We don't train for like shits and giggles. We train to get fitter. We train to get faster. So if you want to actually do that and perform better as a triathlete, then you need to start to layer your nutrition into that. That's so important. Okay, I always talk about, it's a little Venn diagram. I should print it out, but like the circle of training over here, most triathletes have that kind of stuff dialed in, right? You've got a coach, you've got a training program, you know what you're doing on what days, whether you've done it yourself or your partner's done it, or you have got a coach writing your program. Triathletes are good at the training side of things. You've got that sorted. And then the other circle over here is our nutrition. This is where, this is what lets most triathletes down, is that nutrition. Now, if we think of those two circles overlapping, that little section of overlap in the middle where training is dialed in and nutrition overlaps that is our supercharged zone. That is where you're going to be adapting and getting fitter and faster from your sessions in the fastest and best possible way. Okay, do you think the elite athletes, they train a lot, right? They have very periodized specific training. Do you think they've got their nutrition dialed into that? They bloody well do. Okay, they have sports dietitians like me to help them with that. Now, as an age grouper, this is what always lets you down, is you do the training and you smash yourself, but then you have no regard for what you're doing with your nutrition. So I want you to start to think about what you're doing so that they overlap and intersect, and you start to feel the benefits of this supercharged zone in the middle. Okay, that's when you're going to be firing on all cylinders, full of energy, and actually unlocking what you're capable of as a triathlete. So that is, I guess, one of my big roles, is trying to educate you and empower you to do the right things with your nutrition, because otherwise you're going to fall into a heap. Like, you're going to get sick all the time, you get little niggly injuries all the time, your energy availability might not be right, and that is a spectrum, energy availability, and there's little warning signs that might not be right if you are getting sick often, or you're getting little soft tissue, niggly injuries, you're feeling tired, you're feeling wrecked, you're not kind of backing up, all the way down to losing menstrual cycle for females, dropping your testosterone levels for males, and then, stress fractures, stress injuries down that back end of the spectrum as well. So like, that is not what I want for you. I don't want you getting a stress fracture or stress injury, because once you've had one, you're more likely to have another one. And I see them quite often with triathletes, unfortunately, because it's such a high energy burning sport, and people have no idea how to eat to support that. Particularly if you've come from like a gym background, or you've done gym challenges where they teach you to cut carbs and count calories and stick on the same calorie target every single day. You can't do that as a triathlete, because your training load goes up and down constantly. Every day is different. You have a light training day or rest day. Nobody has rest days, but a lighter day, we might just go for a 30 to 45 minute easy jog. That's a light training day, right? That's your active recovery day. And then you've got more moderate, hard, high intensity session days where you might have 2 sessions on it, or you've got like a hard ride or run in the morning and then a swim in the evening, that type of thing. And then you've got really hard days where you might be doing those bricks, where you're doing a ride with run off the bike, you're doing longer sessions like our long rides and long runs, and racing as well is that hard, high intensity type training. So you need to understand how to eat to support each of those days, which encompasses recovery for all of those types of sessions, but also your overall day-to-day nutrition needs to fit in with your training program in a periodized way. And that's one of my favorite things to talk about and teach triathletes how to do properly, because nobody knows how to do that, to layer in nutrition to training the load. All right, so that's a lot. If there's any questions, please type them in. There's a few people watching on different places. Hey, Cheryl Russell and Lucy Hills. I can see a few people watching around. And if you're watching the replay as well, if you're not catching me live and you do have any questions, please just drop a comment below this video, or send me a DM if there's anything I can help you get unstuck with. But those are some little gold nuggets for why your recovery nutrition sucks, and some things to start to think about when it comes to recovery, so that we're ticking those right boxes. And then you need to also understand the timing and when it's important to be aggressive and not aggressive. So if you have absolutely no idea what you're doing and you need help, then you need to come and join us inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program. Doors are open at the moment. They close on Sunday night at 6 p.m. sharp Australian Eastern Standard Time. And they will not open again until like September, months and months and months away. So in that time, between now and September, we're going to go through a whole heap of foundations when it comes to your day-to-day nutrition, and making sure you know exactly what to eat to support different types of training days. So periodization, you have a plan for your recovery nutrition. That is the first thing we do, I think. We do pre-training and recovery nutrition first in the first 2 weeks, because what you do around your sessions is where you get the best bang for your buck. That's something you really need to focus on first and foremost. And if you get those 2 things right, then you will start to feel supercharged. Then we layer in what you're doing for the rest of the day, and we periodize that to your training week. Then we also tackle what you're doing and for your rides and runs as some foundations to what you need to be starting with. And then we build on that as we go through the program. We also go through 2 really key important nutrients that are so important for you as an endurance athlete, and that is calcium, because we need to be building strong bones and teeth, but also calcium is involved in every single muscle contraction. So if you're contracting your muscles regularly, every time you do that, you use calcium. So we need to have enough in our diet to support the muscle contraction process. Plus our heart is a giant muscle, right? So if we want to exercise, we need our heart to function properly. So calcium is very important every single day. And the other one is iron, that as an endurance athlete, you need to be making sure you're getting enough of every day too, because among other things, iron transports oxygen around our body. And if we are breathing more and trying to exercise, as well as like pounding the pavement with our feet, we bleed a bit through our gut. We use more iron as an endurance athlete, and we lose more as well. So it's something you need to understand how to get enough of in your diet, where to find it, and the things that block it and enhance the absorption. That's something I'm going to teach you straight away in the academy, is how to do those foundational things. And that is really going to set you on the path to becoming a supercharged triathlete. So we start on Sunday as well. Doors close Sunday, and the whole program unlocks itself at 5 a.m. my time, Brisbane time, on Sunday morning, and we're just straight into it. Like, we don't mess around. I'm straight into helping you understand exactly what you need to eat and when to get the most out of your body, because it's something that you'll have with you for life, right? You don't, have your body for the next 8 weeks. You've got to look after it, because it's going to carry you into your 90s, maybe 100. And what you do now is setting you up for the future too. So I'm really looking forward to get starting on Sunday. The doors are open if you do want to join us. There's a link in my bio for how to actually get there, or you just go to dietitianapproved.com untitled.com/academy and choose either phase 1, which is what I just talked about, or you can dive straight in and do the entire phase 1, 2, and 3 if you know that you want to go through everything. So phase 2 is our short course race nutrition, and phase 3 is our long course race nutrition. So we're building on what we've done in our fundamentals and our foundational work in phase 1 as we build our nutritional pyramid up into the sprinkles and my secret sauce towards the back end of the program. So jump on that page if you haven't been there before and have a little bit of a read about what we do and all the topics that we cover. And then there's a couple of different pricing options for if you just want to do the phase 1 component and, you know, see how you go, feel like a supercharged triathlete with getting that stuff sorted. Or if you're like, I'm in for the whole thing, there's a payment option to do the entire 12 months there as well. So dietitianapproved.com/academy if you do want to come and join us. Doors close on Sunday and then that's it. They're closing. It's literally a click of the button to do that. So if you are late, then that's it until September. All right, guys, I hope you have an awesome day. Please reach out if you have any questions or if you're stuck on anything. I am doing some 10-minute like get started calls this afternoon if you do want to jump on that. Just send us an email or send us a DM and I can send you the link to book that. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning live at 9 a.m. Tomorrow we're doing an awesome topic on how to lean up and still fuel training. It's one of the key things that people want to know how to do. We're always striving to be leaner, right? We'll run faster the lighter we are, but it is a delicate balance between getting that right and putting yourself into a calorie deficit versus going too hard and running completely out of energy or getting injured, which we don't want either, and getting in that low energy availability state. So it's definitely a delicate balance. When you train for 3 sports, it's much harder than if you just went to the gym. So I'm going to give you my top tips for how to actually do that from a sports nutrition perspective so you don't feel starving all the time, you're not running out of energy and falling into a heap and going too hard. So come and join me tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for that. That should be fun. Otherwise, send me a message if you have anything in between. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.